All right, thank you everybody for joining the last monthly series of Shelf Life. I hope to do this as another season. I think we'll probably start in likely like January or February, but stay in touch because we might have a bonus round with CERTS, the Clean Energy Resource Team, and they want to talk about all the opportunities that there might be for energy audits with the stores. So look out for that. That would be in November, and then we'll have a season 2 next year. If you've been joining, it's once a month. You can find the past or this presentation up on our website, and it kind of looks like that on the right hand side there. But this project's working with RSDP, Regional Sustainable Development Partnerships, and we work with communities in rural Minnesota. And we're working on rural grocery stores. And well, without further ado here, we have Ruth Ann Atkinson and Sarah Fulton Cohenbling from Infra. And I'm just going to stop sharing and they could start sharing their slides. But going to talk about marketing and what Infra is and what this can be as an opportunity for your stores.
Wonderful. Well, thank you everyone for joining us. We are excited to talk about grocery marketing basics today. Before we dive into that, I wanted to talk a little bit about Infra and who we are, so that you're aware of what we do and where we're coming from with this presentation. So Infra is a purchasing cooperative that is owned and governed by independently owned natural food and wellness retailers. We were founded back in 2005 by 4 retailers who wanted to figure out a way to combine their purchasing power to get better pricing and promotions in the marketplace. And since then, we have expanded greatly from that purchasing background into a more holistic support organization that really exists to help our members thrive and succeed in all aspects of their business. So Infra has a vision of a future where independent natural food retailers are thriving at the heart of every community, strengthening their local economies, and committed to making healthy, sustainable food accessible to all. And we do that through 3 pillars of support. The first one is that purchasing power that I talked about, which gets our members lower cost of goods, better promotions, access to a very competitive everyday low price program and fill offers. The second one is operational excellence, which provides things like discounts on a wide array of products and services that you need to use in your everyday operations, marketing support, training and education, and consulting services. And then finally, peer support consists of things like facilitated peer connections, different kinds of events that happen all over the country on different topics to bring people together, and then member-only forums to keep our members connected and learning from one another 24/7. So Infra currently has about 380 members representing 630 store locations across the country. We serve a wide array of stores, everything from stores doing 500,000 a year up to $250 million a year in sales. We serve urban stores and rural stores such as yourselves, and stores with a different store format. So natural grocery, where the majority of the store is in that natural and organic space, wellness retailers that are focused more on the supplement side of things, specialty and gourmet retailers, and then also crossover stores that have been more in the conventional space but are looking to add additional natural product to their product mix. So with that kind of background of who we are and where we're coming from, with working with all these different types of stores, we have learned a lot about works in the marketing space for independently owned retailers and would love to share that with you now. So I will pass it over to my colleague, Sarah Fulton Coldring, to talk to you about that.
Awesome. Thank you, Ruth Ann. My name is Sarah. I am the retail marketing strategist here at Infra, and my role is almost exclusively supporting members with their marketing. So I'm excited to be here today to talk to you about a few strategies that I think are really important for our independent retailers to engage in and capitalize on. And those three are promotional marketing. So, marketing your sales and promotions, social media, and community engagement. When we talk about promotional marketing, what I mean is shouting about great sales to encourage product trial, to increase your basket size, and as many of our retailers in the independent space, we have some issues with price perception. So when you have really amazing things on sale and you're really telling that story, you can improve that price perception and share with your community that they can afford to shop in your stores. So the last couple of years, we've had a lot of economic uncertainty, and in a report earlier this year, we found that 73% of shoppers are, switching products in search of lower prices, indicating a need for diverse price tiers across pretty much every income level. Price is the number one or number two determining factor in making purchases. Folks have a lot of uncertainty about the economy. So what can you as a retailer do to help, showcase value and reiterate the access that you're providing for your community? There are a few ways. One is if you have an everyday low price program, with Infra, we have our everyday program, which offers really competitive prices on over 100 different core staple items across every category that, shoppers know I can afford to shop here and I can get the things that are on my shopping list, week in and week out. So having that is a really great way to support your community by signing every product that's on sale. So I know, having worked in stores, that, when you've got a lot of things on sale, it's really great, but there is definitely labor and logistics and processes that need to happen in order to put up all those sale signs and take them all down, each week, each 2 week period, each month. However, the psychological benefit and the benefit in lift is really important to not only your operational success, but also your shopper's perception of your store. So really making sure that you're signing every sale that you negotiate and every item that you have to pass on to your shopper. You can also really communicate value by building displays or using merchandising techniques to highlight value. So making sure that that highest value real estate in your store, end caps or displays, are things that are competitively priced, that are solving the needs for your shoppers, and really highlight that value. And a really important thing to do when you are having those displays is to make sure that you have the right signage for the display. So if you have a really slamming deal, 2 for $5, 2 for $6, if you're really offering some of those great prices, you want to make sure that the sign is big enough and that you have a small number of items on there to make it easier for your shopper to make those choices. And when you have that sign that really shouts that value, that doesn't block every single product, you make it more shoppable and you make it so that your shopper wants to come back and see, what new and exciting solutions you have for them. Another way to communicate value is to have a sales flyer, whether that is a printed out physical hard copy thing that you make, 10 or 20 or 100 copies of, or it's a digital resource that you share out in an email newsletter or have as a QR code so that folks can scan it, Or I've even seen people make like a poster version and they just have one in one area of the store. But by pulling together all of the different items that you have on sale, you're communicating that value. And with cyclical promotions, you're creating that sense of urgency where, as opposed to the everyday low price where you're tried and true, you give folks that reassurance that they can come in and get what they need on sale. Recurring, cycles of promotions generate that sense of urgency and that sort of treasure hunt mentality where you must get it now. It might be gone the next time you come in. So it helps build the basket and it helps create that sense of excitement. With a flyer, you want to the In for Deals flyer, which is our promotions program. We focus on not only tried and true brands that we know, our stores are carrying and that the shoppers are excited about, but we also try to include new and trending products as well. And by communicating that value with a sales flyer, you're driving that traffic and you're driving interest in products. And the flyer combined with the sign at the shelf really helps to solidify that message. At the shelf, this is an example of one of our sale signs for that In for Deals. We've got, some really slick branding for some plug and play kind of turnkey resources for our retailers. But your signage at the shelf for a promotion needs to have some of the very basic information like sale or deal, but also the brand name and what the product is, how much it costs. And then we also, can add things to the sign just for ease of use for you and your buyers and your staff, whether that's the barcode to use for ordering, the distributor if you work with multiple distributors, and different information that can help not only your shopper, but also your staff to be successful. And then I just wanted to share a little bit of data. So Infra in the year 2025 switched from monthly promotions to a bi-weekly or every 2-week promotion. And while that was kind of a big shift for some of our members, we made that decision based on data and have seen some great, return on that investment and return on that change for our members. So 90% of our members have seen an improvement in promotional performance. And this chart here, the gray line, was an example of data from 2024 when sales lasted essentially 4 weeks. So you would see an increase in weeks 1 and 2 where you've got your shoppers coming into the store. It's a new sale period. Perhaps we have just finally gotten all of our signs up, and then we would see a decline in the second half of the month. They're not as new as and exciting anymore. Perhaps folks loaded up on the first week or two, and they don't need to repurchase any of those items. So you see that fizzle in the promo week 3 and week 4. When you look at the plum or sort of bright red pink line, that is 2025 data. So we still see that almost identical lift in the first week and week 1 and week 2. We do have a little bit of a dip. However, that's week 1 of the brand new promo period. So we're still seeing lift and we don't see that drop at the end. So essentially, on average, we've got increased foot traffic, so more visits because people are coming in week 3 to see the new sales. There's better promo lift. So for each item that's on sale, we're seeing improved lift on those items. And when you've got more folks coming into your store, we're actually seeing like higher overall store sales. They're coming in for the deals, but they're also walking around the store and doing, a whole extra shop. So moving from that monthly cycle to the A/B ad cycle has, increased that foot traffic and really reinvigorated that second half of the month. we've consolidated the promotional offerings. So over the course of a whole month, we might have the same number of items on sale, but instead of 600 or 3,000 items that are on sale for an entire month, we really narrow it down and focus in on 300 or 1,500 items at a certain time. So you're kind of focusing your customer's attention on fewer items at a time, which means that you're getting more of that incremental lift. And the increased engagement and the increased interest in the promotional offering has resulted in overall sales growth. So I think this is really interesting and it's really great to see. This data is based on our cohort of members that are highly engaged and really like working the program. So they are signing their promotions, they are building the really effective and compelling end caps. So they're really kind of firing on all cylinders and they're seeing the returns because of that. Um, so we've talked a little bit about promotional marketing. That's the stuff that's happening, primarily in store at the shelf. With social media, I know whether you have somebody on your staff that is a marketer or you are wearing all of the different hats, social media can be a tool that in 2025 is something that you just need to have. Um, because we've got folks who are already looking to engage with you. It's a way that people discover new stores, new brands, new products. So connecting with this engaged audience online can help to drive loyalty for your brand in your store and also drive traffic into your store. So, social media, I'm going to talk a little bit about organic social media, which another word for that is unpaid. And then I'm going to talk a little bit about paid social media as well. But when you think about social media, good content should showcase who you are as a store and really build authenticity. I like to say if somebody is following a grocery store on social media, they're already probably a little bit of a grocery nerd and they want to see the behind the scenes. They want to know more about who you are and why you do what you do. In order to sort of appease the algorithm and the social media machine, it does need to be consistent. So whether that's posting a couple of times a week or, posting about the same types of content, it's really important to build that into a regular cadence and then remaining flexible. So having a plan is important, but sometimes something will happen that is an opportunity that you can take advantage of and capitalize on if you're flexible. So, overall, social media should be social. It's rewards featuring people, featuring smiling faces by showcasing things that are new, whether that's a sales changeover, whether that's a new product, whether that's a new initiative. Those types of posts really help people feel connected. And then talking about what makes you unique, serving your community and being, the boots on the ground, so to speak, you know, has a lot of benefits over the big box retailers that might be your competition. And the more that you can feature those differentiators in your social media, the more that you can really connect and engage with that loyal audience. Here are a couple of sort of trends or strategies that you can use to help figure out what you're going to post about on social media. Contests and giveaways have kind of always been, I think, a part of social media for businesses. It's a really great way to um, garner engagement on posts, whether it's like and comment. You can also feature brands and tag their posts and their social handles to get a little bit more engagement. And with social media, the more people are reacting to a post, the more it's going to show up in other people's feeds. So it really is this sort of like self-fulfilling prophecies. And you can also use giveaways and contests to drive people into the store where maybe you don't have people, like and comment to enter, but you actually make them come into the store to enter. So you can really drive traffic that way. Influencer marketing might be something that works for you. I know that there are different kind of demographics that really lean into influencer marketing, whether that's like a mommy blogger or, a younger consumer, a Gen Z person who's got, their social media influencer hat on, working with folks who are in your community or in your sort of area is a really nice way to expand your audience. Um, User-generated content, when you get testimonials or quotes or people are posting things that they got at your store, you can always reshare that or package it to share out. And really, one thing about marketing is like I can talk about my store all day and get a little bit of traction, but what your friend or a stranger says is going to carry more weight than what I say. So whenever you can share information or, like I said, testimonials, quotes from people that are talking about you rather than you talking about yourself, that's going to be a big win. And then hopping on the trends. So I've seen a lot of videos, I've seen a lot of things, earlier this year, kind of iPhone notes were a big thing on social where you would just kind of type things out and it was like a text heavy thing and you wouldn't think that would necessarily be a really engaging post, but it was just something that was of the moment. Um, there were those videos a while ago that was like this or that, and you could have people say, like waffles or pancakes, or like, of course I'm a, co-op shopper. I do X, Y, or Z. There are things that are just like simple and fun, and if you can hop on that when it's happening, then you'll gain a lot of traction. So don't be afraid to do things that are trending in order to sort of, ride the coattails of that trend because it's very unlikely that anything you do on social is going to go viral. But when you can kind of lean into what's popular, then that's going to just help you expand your audience and get that reach. If you are interested in foray into paid social media, I know that a lot of retailers that I work with might invest 25, 30, $50 for a campaign. You want to think about what your overarching goal is and like how you'll know if it was successful. So, do you want to drive new customers to your store? Do you want to sell a certain product that you have a lot of or that you're really excited about, and really make sure that you are investing money in something that has a real plan behind it. And then think about who your target audience is. So, um, who are you trying to speak to? Who does this message resonate with? And that example could be 20 to 40-year-olds with children that live within 20 miles of your store. And with Meta Business Suite, which is the parent company of both Facebook and Instagram, you really can like narrow down your target when you make paid posts to 20 to 40-year-olds with kids in this zip code. So um, think about who you're trying to reach. And then um, what is your call to action? What is it that you are driving them to do? And is that visit our website? Is it claim this exclusive offer? So all of these things are things to consider as you build a paid social post or campaign. And if we take those examples of 20 to 40-year-olds with kids nearby, this is just one example of something that you can put together. It aligns with who you are and what you're trying to do in your community, having a short, eye-catching post, and really go back to the fact that social media is meant to be social. So creating an impactful call to action. This post is nurturing your family starts with great food. Experience the difference with fresh, organic, high quality groceries your kids will love at the natural food store. And then we've got a few hashtags. And then the call to action here is claim your 10% off coupon now. So this is the type of thing that's really specifically built to get you that return on investing in paying for some social media and boosting a post. And Zach has volunteered to show some examples of social media from the Manna Facebook page, examples of what's worked and what may not. So I think this is actually a great time to pop over to that. And Zach, if you want to share your screen.
Yeah. Yeah, this
Yeah.
is like spur of the moment. I just thought, some examples here from Anna. We're an infra member, and we've got deals. So let's just look through a few of these real live grocery examples. So we got this is one 3 hours ago. Coffee day, no likes. Okay, well, see what's happening there. That was just 3 hours ago, though. We're posting about a deal about Annie's, a pretty popular product. A little bit of an engagement. It was about a day ago. Pretty good deal there, 2 for $4. Some recipes. We got a recipe. No engagement though on that one. And then here's our deals. I liked it. Zachary paid, and 3 others, but these are regular. So I don't know if you want to chime in about how we're posting this one, Sarah. Does that look good to you,
Yeah.
how we did it?
I think I really like just first glance. I think that the caption is really nice. It's got some of the fall colors in the leaves with emojis. It's talking about that sense of urgency, which is great. I think one way that could potentially make this a more engaging post is, not only maybe including some of
Yeah.
the actual sort of flyer imagery, but actually finding these products in the store and showing like
Hmm.
what that experience would be like for a shopper to come in and see. Where is it in the store? Is there someone in the store that's willing to get their photo taken and holding a product,
Yeah.
showing it? So really finding ways to make that personal connection. I know it can be hard to get people who are willing to have their face all over their work social media. So one thing I think is a little trick, a little way to get around that is have somebody with like the item in their hand and either like hold it up
Yeah.
and like it can block their face or it can be kind of blurred or like a cute like hands holding something. Just like making sure that
Yeah.
there's like a person or a real life image that tends to not only people react more to it from a very like base psychological place, but also the algorithm will preference that and will show it to more people. So,
Yeah, we've
hot
seen
tip.
that to be true. Like when we show video, we get so many more likes. I'll just show like a few more examples of that because, even this picture here, we got a little bit more engagement showing pictures of the farmers celebrating Organic Month. This was an event we did, and our festival here, some recipes. But I just want to show like, this was with some people in here, but also as like an art uh, at the back of our store. But look how much engagement we had there. This wasn't a product, but this is like engaging with the community. So I don't know if there's anything to that too of just like community supported projects. We're a food co-op, but all the grocery stores here at Rural Grocery like very engaged with the community. So perhaps that's another thing to engage with social media.
Yeah, definitely. Um, I also like that you are, it's a story, it's art, it's the community, and you've also kind of called out the other people who are involved. And anytime you can either tag somebody else, that will encourage that will show to other people, and just like broaden that reach. So anytime you can, if you're partnering with anybody, if you're doing an event or you're working with somebody and you can have them share it, you can have them repost it, and awesome, you've got some like process shots, and yeah,
Yeah.
that's really cool. I like that. Thank you for sharing. There was a question in the chat. Can we use
Yeah.
AI to photophobia such photographs? So I will say that AI is definitely a tool that can be really helpful. I do think for the most part, um, you want to be really careful about using AI to take photos because they often come across as kind of fake and manufactured, and you want to make sure you're not like posting a picture with like nine fingers on one hand. Um, I think it would probably be better to just feature like what it looks like in your store rather than relying on AI to create like a person in a photo that isn't real. Um, because I think also AI tends to also have some of the like data embedded in it that is not prioritized by the algorithm. So definitely something that you can explore or see what works. Zach, do you have any experience? Have you ever done anything with using AI to help make social posts?
I'm not sure if Casey does or not. Casey, we have a person on staff that we pay to do regular, like Sarah was saying, keep it consistent. So Casey's our consistent person that, posts once a day or once every other day, something. Um, and I think she might use some AI just looking at her posts in terms of the language. And I'm not, sure if it's working or not, but I think I wouldn't overuse it at all because, yeah, like Sarah's saying, like people can tell. I just want
Yeah.
to share one more thing, and then maybe we could get back to your slides. I didn't mean to take over, but yeah, I thought this one was a good one too. Just showing all of us at the co-op, 79 likes and loves, a lot of engagement there. We're visiting another store, and I think that's, this is the kind of thing. I think everybody kind of knows this already, but that like gets a lot of engagement, showing people's faces and working with the community and what we're up to, and transparency and being honest.
Yeah. And there's another question in the chat. With such little engagement on flyers versus community events, is there a real value to spending the time to create and post flyers worth it for small or very small stores? And I think that's a super important question. I wouldn't spend a lot of time creating something like that specifically to post on social media. However, I think it is important content not only to post on social media, but to have in the store and to have, if you have an email newsletter, um, you know, I I'm hopeful that if you kind of have a um, sales program or a flyer, it's living in all of the different kind of marketing channels that you have at your disposal. And even if there isn't a ton of engagement, it's still adding to that consistent posting cadence, and people are still liking, or people are likely still seeing it. So I think you I would suggest that you look at your analytics in the like business suite or just on your page to see how many people saw it, because maybe they saw it but they just now know that you have a new sales flyer and it's not compelling engaging to like get them to like it or comment about it, but they know, oh, there's a new sales flyer, I should jump in and check it out in store. So I think there's value in posting it. I wouldn't spend a ton of time, recreating the wheel, um, just to have a sales flyer on your social. But if you can take a quick picture of one item that's on sale or one item that's new in the store and, create a post in 5, 10, 20 minutes, that is probably a better use of your time than creating a static image of your sales flyer. Um, and There's another question. Do you see using social media in the future as a good thing / marketing for the grocery store? We stopped paper ads. We have a Facebook and use an app for the store. I think that, in my sort of professional opinion, I think that every store should have a presence on social media, whether it's a huge game changer in terms of driving traffic and driving sales. I think without investing, money into that, I don't think it's really going to move the needle tremendously. But if somebody's looking online for your business, they see you, in their community, or they're looking for a grocery store, or they're doing, online searching. Online discovery is probably the most common way that, millennials and Gen Z find out about where to spend their money, where they like what their resources are. So I think if you're not on there, it will hurt you. And being on there is just sort of like the bare minimum that will help you be successful. Um, so I think that it's kind of a necessary evil, if you will, but can also be really helpful. But thank you all for asking questions. I love it. Continue to throw things out there if you want. In the last 28 days, Larry had 45,000 views, which is awesome. And another person commented, I sell more of my agro products on WhatsApp channel and text messaging platforms because I announced the harvest that we're going to be doing. That's awesome. Exploring kind of other channels. Text marketing, I think, is kind of the next frontier. People get a zillion emails a day. You have to pay money to really show up in your feed for social media. So exploring some of the other options. And with text marketing, that's like a little bit more immediate. So, you know, I might not check my email for a couple weeks, my like personal email, if I get overwhelmed by all of the different newsletters that I'm subscribed to. But a text message might be more like, oh, I'll look at it and digest it and see what's up. And if it's something exciting like a new harvest or a new product drop, that's going to really be compelling. However, I was out with some friends last night, and it is the beginning, or maybe not the beginning, but it is political season right now, campaign election season. And I think I got like 12 texts from, I don't even know how I got on all these like politician newsletter like text lists. So take it with a grain of salt that you may be annoying people if you send a ton of texts in the next month or so. So if you do decide to do any of that paid social, we talked about having some goals at the beginning. And then, since you've had your goals set up at the beginning, you can really monitor success and see if what you did aligned with your goals and if you reached those outcomes or those like key performance indicators that you set. So yeah, monitoring the success and making sure that what you're aiming to do, whether your call to action is strong enough, whether you're seeing the results, can be really helpful to make sure that you're not just spending money and never thinking about it again. So we talked about social media, we talked about how to market your promotions in your store, and those are both kind of marketing tactics aimed at people that are already part of your audience. They're in your store or they're already following you online. And being part of a rural community, I think, is a really, like, y'all, I'm sure, are engaged with your community, but it's really important to connect and, build brand awareness for your business and to connect with your current and potential new shoppers. I'm going to share quite a few slides that just have some examples of events that Infra members have done in the last year or so. So we've got a loose leaf tea workshop. So if you have a bulk section or you have herbs and teas, this is a really fun, easy type of class where you can just have folks come in and maybe leave with some custom blended herbal mixes. Um, really fun, engaging. We've got a store in Maryland that did a wine tasting featuring women-owned vineyards, and they've got, they sell wine, they've got a kitchen, so that's a really fun and exciting way to bring folks into the store. These are kind of two different things that have happened across the country that focus on live music at your store. So on the left side, we have a store in Spokane, Washington that ropes off their parking lot once a week and has live music, and they put out sample tents, and it's just sort of a community gathering. And then we had another store that's in Pennsylvania, and this was sort of like a mini music festival where they also roped off their parking lot. They had a long slate of musicians. They had a cookout, and they were able to have BYOB. But this type of event is, can be a small recurring thing or a really large production, but it's just a way to engage like local musicians and artists in your community and be a part of a community event and a fun opportunity to socialize. Um, we had a store in New York that did a storybook reading with the authors of this like children's book. So I think it's if you can do events for like parents and families with small kids, that's a really big win. If you can get kids excited to come into your store, then the parents will be really grateful that you're, keeping their kids entertained, and they're more likely to come in. This other event was a mini facial event. It's essentially like a body care sample. I believe this was, okay, so this was after Mother's Day, but they worked with the brand itself to have product samples and just a nice little opportunity for people to come in and do a little treat yourself moment. And then these are some of the things that are going out and about in the community. So, Prairie Food Co-op in Illinois. Yeah, Illinois. They actually just opened this summer, but all year they'd been doing events in the community to drive ownership in their co-op. And so they were participating in lots of different festivals and fairs and farmers markets and things that were already happening. In Washington, this store was sponsoring their local pride. So really just like tapping into community events that are already planned and already happening, whether that's through sponsorship or attending and setting up a booth or donating samples and snacks and different things. It's a really great way to kind of, yeah, tap into things and not have to recreate the wheel. And then these are just a couple of events that are really more focused around like sales in the store. So on the left side, we've got a Butcher's Extravaganza event where they have essentially just promotions across their entire meat department. On the right here, we've got a supplement sale. So choosing specific categories or subcategories and putting some promotions behind that and really using that to drive traffic into the store and making it an event. Oftentimes there will be samples or brands and vendors that can support with this type of event, and you're driving traffic because people are just excited about getting a slam deal. And when you are considering different events and ways to engage with your community, you really want to think about kind of three different areas where you want to make sure that you are getting the bang for your buck. So is this an event or an activation or an activity that will expand your audience? So are you getting your brand and your store in front of new eyes? And if it is, then that's amazing. Is it something that supports your mission and vision? Is it, a local agricultural event? Is it supporting, your local food bank or doing something that really kind of puts your money where your mouth is, so to speak? What is it that your store and your business kind of exists to do? And if you can find ways to do mission aligned events, that's amazing. And then also just understanding who your shoppers are and what they care about and help kind of meet them where they're at. So if you can think about whether or not you're going to attend an event or put on an event, if you can make sure you're doing one of these three things, then that's a really great sign that it's something you should do and you should invest the time and the effort in doing. And again, you don't have to do any of this 100% on your own. There can be partnerships, whether that's with different organizations in your community, brands that you sell in your store. Um, you can really harness that full network and help with the content for the event. So, like that facial event, have the expert from the brand come and do that. Or is it the musician or the street fair or the thing that's already happening in your community and really lean into that? And if you work with any partners, like Zachary was sharing earlier when he tagged the like muralist and the artists and the other co-op, whenever you can kind of lean on other folks that are involved to help promote something, that's also going to be really helpful in making sure that you're expanding your audience and that what you're putting out there into the community is getting a further reach. Um, Understand the limitations of your spaces. Do you have a parking lot that you can rope off to make seating for a concert, or will that like totally disrupt the flow of your business? For some of you, the answer is yes, and for some of you, the answer is no. But understanding, do you have a little room or a seating area where you can host a lecture? Um, do you have a space to set up a cooking class, like with a induction burner? Just kind of understanding what will and won't work so that you can have the best experience. Learn from what your community wants. Whether that's because you actively ask them and solicit their feedback on what they'd like to see from you, or just kind of taking note that like nobody showed up for that yoga class that we put on, or we had 100 people show up, we got to do more of this. And then, market events and things to drive people back to your store. So if you're going out and doing things in the community, how can you make sure that that leads to people coming back into your store, whether you give them a copy of a sales flyer with your address and your hours on it, or a coupon that's, 5% off a $50 purchase in the next 2 weeks? Different ways to make sure that when you get in front of folks, you're driving them back into your store. Um, I just think that, marketing is one tool that you can use to not only share your purpose and create that brand awareness and support your community. This is a little bit of a cheating slide where I took a lot of the language from the beginning, where we really believe that you can be at the heart of your community, strengthening the local economy and making healthy, sustainable food accessible to all. And marketing is just one way to help you achieve that for your community. We've got a few minutes left, and this time is great for questions, or if you'd be willing to share, what's something that you've done in the marketing space that's been successful, or if you've heard anything today that you're excited to try next. And I think you can unmute and say what you're thinking, or we've had some folks be active in the chat, so.
Hello, good evening from Nigeria. My name is Bose.
Hi.
Hello.
Welcome. Thank you.
Yeah. So I want to say about my own experience um in a community-based promotion, so to speak, for my agro produce. I am a farmer and a food processor, and I sometimes the crops that I grow, some other farmers don't grow them. And I want to do something, to help them promote their own crops as well, or their own harvest. So sometimes we just do, a combine, a partnership, a display, a partnership display, so to speak, whereby I bring my own agro produces, and people have known me, so they also bring their own, and from there we have a very beautiful, exhibition. I'm sorry, my daughter is making noise on the ground.
That's okay. Yeah,
Yes.
I love
So
that
for
idea.
me, it could just be the vegetables and some other maybe the grains, the leaf vegetables, while some other farmers they grow tomatoes, peppers. So we just bring it, and because people have known me in my own community, and sometimes they will be asking that couldn't I bring, like tomatoes, onions, and the rest of those things for them, since I already grow the vegetables, I mean, the green leaves. And, they also need those other vegetables for their meals. So I just, connect with some farmers and bring them, and we just have a display, like that. And it's always been a very awesome, sales experience. Thank you very much. From
Yeah.
Nigeria, once again.
Awesome. Thank you so much for sharing. I really love that concept of, taking what you do and what you do well and finding those businesses that are aligned and that are complementary so that it's not like direct competition. You're both providing things that give your customers access to a more complete or more exciting opportunity. I see someone else has their camera on and come off mute. How are you?
Hi. Oh, I'm good. I'm good. I just want to thank you so much for the presentation. It was really informative. My name is Toussaint, and I'm the community wellness specialist here at Eco3. Our store that we're going to be launching pretty soon is LNPK Grocery. Zach actually came by and checked us out a couple of weeks ago. Wasn't able to show up, but and my supervisor Adam just stepped out for a second. He had to go do something. But I wanted to say that in our store, we're not going to have we don't have like a commercial kitchen or anything. We can't like do samples and different things like that. So we can't really do cooking demonstrations and stuff like that. So for me, being a community wellness specialist as well as being a part of the grocery team, I think leaning into community events. I've already established a few classes in the community, uh, wellness classes regarding cooking classes, whole food, plant-based cooking classes, holistic health and wellness classes for elders as well. Um, and some community demonstrations at farmers markets as well, just to kind of get the word out about what we're doing. I think leaning into wellness events that promote the grocery store, that could promote some of the stuff we have in the store, might be that direction as opposed to trying to do things we don't have permits for. But I really
Yeah.
like the aspect of having a community event to get people involved because our community is we're dealing with a lot of elders, a lot of people who don't have transportation. Our area has been a desert. At Lincoln Park in Duluth, Minnesota, has been a food desert for decades. So I think at this point, wellness is also where we're going to focus on developing and trying to support the whole member of the community, not just food. Food access is very important, but engaging with wellness, it all leads to living a healthier life. But through community events, I feel like it's sparked. I'm like, okay, I'm already doing that. let me just piggyback on that and maybe use some products in the store to have with us while we're doing some breath work, which is what I do in the community too.
Yeah.
So I
Thank
just
you
want
for
to put that out there.
sharing. I
Yeah.
think that's a really great example of how you can be active in your community and be supporting your community with the limitations that you might have at your space or within your business, but still making sure that you're showing up and making sure that folks know that you're an option for them. And I love that you're working with elders. Like anytime you can think about like what segment of my community is this for, and the more specific you can be, I think that's a really great way also to make sure that you're hitting those objectives and serving the different folks in your community, whether it's elders, whether it's kids, whether it's parents, whether it's college students. So yeah, I think that's really exciting what you're doing up there in Duluth. It is 4 o'clock. So I don't know if anybody has any final questions that they want to ask. Ruthann, if you want to hit the next slide, this is just our contact information, who we are, our cute little headshots. I was looking at our little tiny pictures and I was like, or our faces on the camera, and I was like, we have the same haircut. Um, so I just really appreciate everybody being here on the call today. We welcome your thoughts, your feedback, your questions. You can always reach out to Ruthann or myself if you'd like to learn more about infra, more about marketing for your stores or your businesses. And Zachary, I don't know if you have any closing words you want to put out there.
Yeah, I just want to say thank you so much for joining. And yeah, this will be up on the RSDP website, Shelf Life, if you want to watch it again or go back to a specific part. But yeah, check out Infra. And if you're, wanting to sell natural foods, they're a great way to help with the promotions. And I'd say, like, if you're looking into any wholesaler or partner or something to help you with price points, just do your due diligence and check out what's best for your store. So thanks so much, and we'll be in touch.